Next one for me, another animated film, Mad God by Phil Tippett. I didn't see it in cinemas. I think it showed on, is it Shudder?
Right. Okay. I've not seen Mad God.
Yeah, it's one of them. It's not for everyone. It's another one of those labor of loves. I think it started. The concept dates back to like 1992, I think. Because for context, Phil Tippett is that guy that did all the stop motion for Star Wars. I think his best work is probably RoboCop. He
Right.
did he did the Ed 209 big motherfucking robot. And so Mad God, it doesn't have much of a narrative. There's no real character, there's no real depth. It's purely just a chain of surreal, nightmarish stop motion imagery.
Yeah.
So it's one of them that's not for everyone, but I just admire the the technical aspect and the just the clear work that went into it. So, Mad God.
Yeah.
Again, I reiterate, it's not for everyone. But if you love stop motion animation and you love something that's a bit more ultra and a bit more out there, then I would recommend it. So,
Oh, one of the great cinema experiences of the year. I feel the need to put Top Gun Maverick in my top 10 of the year. I thought I just I watched it in the IMAX Leicester Square. The only time I've ever been to that screen. It's huge, and just the sound and the visuals and the it was just a great thrill ride of a film. And Tom Cruise, for all his problematic elements, is a hell of a movie star. And I'm just so glad this film did so incredibly well.
yeah, right. We'll be talking about that again very soon. Next one for me. I don't know if you've seen this one actually. Moonage Daydream, the David Bowie
Yeah,
doc. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, good
Uh,
film.
yeah. So when it comes to my list, I try to be as eclectic as I possibly can. So I like to have like mainstream films, indie films, foreign films, animation.
You've got an Indiana Jones film on your list.
No, indie films. Fuck you. And documentaries. That doesn't always pan out. But and to be honest, I've not actually seen that many documentaries, particularly cinematic released ones. I think
Yeah,
the only other one is Fire of Love, which
yeah,
I
that
actually
is
really
great.
like, which I really like, but I hated that voiceover.
Yes, a lot of people said that. I didn't hate it. I didn't need it, but I
Mate,
thought I really liked Fire of Love.
oh mate, it would grind in my bones. It actually like it didn't ruin the film, but I kind of was just like, I really wish this bitch would just fuck off.
Yeah,
But I can't remember who did the voiceover for that, but that's just how she is like that.
it was Miranda July.
Yeah, yeah,
I didn't mind it.
yeah, yeah. But anyway, I digress. Moonage Daydream. But it was very fitting for David Bowie because it's one of them things like you'd think David Bowie would have more films about him, but I guess his estate is like very selective with who they hand out the name and whatnot to. So, but yeah, I thought it was well worth the wait, this documentary. So
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a great entry. I thought it was a really good film as well.
yeah,
Um, my next one is so I did Top Gun, so it's Triangle of Sadness. Ruben Ostlund's second Palme d'Or winner.
yeah,
Um, and it's very on the nose. I'm not trying to like argue that it's like a brand new thing. It's very eat the rich suck, like satire on them, but it's very effectively done. It's it's just it was I thought it was hilarious. Like it was a genuinely really funny film. Um, I thought, yeah, Ruben Ostlund, clearly you know what he wants to say. He's not subtle about it, but he's right
mm,
about most of it. And it does have a few pacing issues in the final third, but the first and second acts incredible. Dolly DeLeon, very, very strong in that final third. And I think Harris Dickinson is one of Britain's best stars, like upcoming stars. He's got so much range. And also, very tragically, the lead actress, Chalby Dean, died last year of an viral infection, I think it was. And she is wonderful in this film. She's got such like star power. So, yeah, that's my entry.
Yeah, yeah. It was very sad to hear about that because I didn't really care much for that film, but I did really
Yeah.
like her in it. So
Yeah, it's very sad.
yeah. But anyway, what's next? Oh yeah, Northman.
Nice, solid film.
Yeah. So I really like Robert Eggers. I loved. Well, I didn't actually. No, I didn't love it, but I really liked the Vivitch.
The Vivitch, nice.
If you're gonna misspell it, I'm gonna mispronounce it.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
But I did love The Lighthouse, and I was really looking forward to this because I do like it when studios just think, ah, fuck it, give him a chance.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And this was that. I just think this is the sort of film. It's kind of like do you remember The Green Knight from?
Yeah, I loved The Green Knight.
Yeah, I think this is kind of like a good companion piece to that because much like The Green Knight, this is like the film that I wanted but I never thought I'd get.
Yeah, I see that. They're a great double bill, actually.
Yeah, because for those wondering, like Northman is clearly fantasy for me as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
but it's fantasy for mature audiences because it costs so because fantasies of this scale and scope cost so much. They're always geared towards family audiences, so it is refreshing to have one that's aimed at adults.
Yeah.
But when I say fun, it's not like because I think a lot of people have put this in with the same boat as like Gladiator and Braveheart, and I think to do that is quite disingenuous because I think a better comparison would be like those old like John Borman fantasies like Excalibur and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think one of the best things about Northman is that kind of like Ridley Scott, I think Robert Eggers is a brilliant world builder. Like he makes films that feel tangible and real and quite honest as well. And to stay on the honest point is like everyone in here is a prick. Like they don't like make any pretense about like Skarsgård being a hero or anything. Do you know what I mean?
No, exactly.
And I really, and I just really appreciated that. I thought it was a great film. I think it has squeaked a profit on home media. I read about that.
Yeah, it has. Yeah. There was a thing where it was like it is profitable now, but it just wasn't the hugest of box office hits. But
which I was worried about because I was worried that maybe they'd use this as like a scapegoat for not doing these types of projects anymore. Do you know what I mean? But I thought it was a great film, and I look forward to his Nosferatu.
My next choice is White Noise, which has been a very divisive film. I know some people have really not liked it. The Noah Baumbach Netflix film with Adam Driver and Greta Gerwig. Just a bonkers film, like 100 million, I think the budget was of this. Just
that's
bizarre.
Mental.
This bizarre rumination on death, like an unadaptable novel somehow adapted. It's very much in three parts. You've got like the classic family drama that Baumbach does so well. Then the middle bit goes full disaster movie, Stranger Things sort of like thrilling sequence. And then the final third, just a really bizarre and quiet and weird take on death and the fear of death and how that sort of ruins life sometimes, the actual thinking about death. So, great film.
I would add Elfman's score is very good.
Great score, great song at the end as well, New Body Rumba.
Yeah. Netflix has had a really weird year, haven't they? Because with White Noise, Blonde, Bardo.
Yeah.
Like they've splashed out all this cash on these films, and none of them have been like universally loved, and none of them are going to get like any awards.
No, it's
But
weird. Like out of all of them, it seems like All Quiet on the Western Front and Glass Onion are their two big awards contenders, and
and
neither are going to.
Pinocchio.
And Pinocchio, but none of them are going to win major. Pinocchio probably will win Best Animated Feature.
Yeah, I think it will.
Maybe All Quiet could take foreign language, but there's a very real chance that Netflix don't have one Best Picture contender one Best Picture nominee, sorry, this year. When in the past they've had like, what was it, 3 or 4 one year, in a year or two
God,
ago?
yeah. Like I think it was like 2019 with like Marriage Story and
Yeah, The Irishman,
Two Popes.
Two Popes. Yeah, was it only? It might have been only the 3, but still, that is strong.
Yeah, but they're really bitter at Apple for winning Best Picture.
Yeah, absolutely. Apple just swept in out of nowhere and stole Power of the Dog's Oscar.
Yeah, and not to digress, but Apple have got it good next year with Scorsese and Ridley Scott, and I think Steve McQueen's new film is going to be with them as well. So
yeah, Apple have got nothing really this year, but next year they've got Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, the new. Yeah,
don't forget Emancipation.
Yeah, that's going to go down well with the Oscars, I believe.
Yeah, I think I'm down to my last 2.
Yeah,
Top Gun Maverick.
Nice.
So I don't give a flying shit about the first film.
Yeah,
I never have. I never will. I've always kind of thought that it's, in a weird way, I kind of looked at the original Top Gun as being like, it sort of embodied everything that I thought was wrong with like those 80s blockbusters. It was all like style over substance. It was very juvenile. And so so when it came time for doing this, I was kind of thinking, why are you doing this? Moreover, why do you keep delaying it? Because this was originally meant to come. This was one of like the biggest victims of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Constantly got being pushed back. I think even worse than like James Bond and stuff. Do you know what I mean? And I just kept thinking, why bother? Because it's clearly not going to be any good. I had to eat my word. I had to eat some humble pie when I came out of that, because I came out of that thinking, fuck me, that was amazing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did. I think what you were saying about it being delayed, everyone wanted it, like apparently in Hollywood wanted it on streaming. Apparently Apple bid like 400 million or something to put it on. And Tom Cruise was just straight up like, no. And everyone was like, but it's not going to make any money. It's a sequel to a film that not that many people care about anymore, is what people thought.
Yeah.
But no, it's just a word of mouth sensation. And as of the end of the year, it was the biggest film of the year. That will change probably in a couple of weeks when Avatar overtakes it. But still.
Yeah. But it's just it's one of them things. It is genuinely just a great film. It's one of those films that makes you, it sort of reaffirms your faith in Hollywood to a certain extent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it achieves what all these other like legacy sequels try to do but fails miserably at, in that it honors the original, but it just works in like modern context. It's just a great, brilliant spectacle. I don't know what voodoo like Tom Cruise has got, but he's clearly got this. He clearly knows what he's doing, because I used to think that stars are just like not a thing anymore, but clearly that's not the case. Like he's riding high as he goes into like Mission Impossible 18 or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah. No, he can open an action film, that guy. He can open an action film.
Yeah, so great film. To be honest, this is like the film that I'll probably like rewatch the most. As much as I love like Aftersun and whatnot, this is like the film that I'll like get on DVD and shit. You know what I mean? So
what? So my second to last one is one I don't know if you've had the chance to see yet, because it hasn't officially been released in the UK till next month, I think. But it was one I saw at LFF. Women Talking, Sarah Polley's film with Claire Foy, Jessie Buckley, Rooney Mara, Ben Whishaw, very, very briefly Frances McDormand.
What? Is she barely in it?
She's in one scene, yeah. Well, one split, yeah, two scenes, but yeah, I think she was very much probably a producer on it and was just like, yeah, I'll lend my name to it
Oh,
in this
she
small
did.
role.
She pulled a Brad Pitt from 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah, but she's very chilling in it. She's obviously very good. She's Frances McDormand, but yeah,
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
not really in it. Claire Foy and Jessie Buckley in particular are absolutely brilliant. And it's just it literally is what it says in the title. The whole film is just these women talking about what they want to do. They're in a convent, not a colony, and they've all been sexually assaulted by the men in this like religious colony, and they're deciding essentially whether to stay and fight, whether to stay and just put up with it, or whether to leave, and what all the impacts will have on all of them, whatever decision they make. And it's such a compelling screenplay, and just obviously, even though the context doesn't necessarily immediately relate to everyday life, what everything they're talking about is still so prescient in society, in Hollywood, and it's just a really effective and heartbreaking film. So yeah, and I would have Claire Foy very high on my best supporting actress lists this year.
Last film. So this is one of those cases where it came out 2021. I didn't see it until it came in UK general release in March. One of your favorites, Worst Person in the World.
Best film of last year.
Yeah, well, for a while, up until After Sun, this was probably my favorite film that I'd seen of 2022. I was going to say this year. Last year, I mean.
Oh, sorry, best film of 2 years ago then. In my opinion.
Yeah. In your books, yeah. Just a great little international cinematic gem. I'm surprised that I love it as much as I do because it doesn't really speak volume to me because I'm not a lady in her late 20s, early 30s experiencing, any sort of dread or anything. But the leading lady of that film is amazing. I forget her name.
Renata Reinsfer. Yeah, she's incredible in that film.
Yeah, wonderful. I look forward to anything that she does next. I think she's in a horror film next.
She is with Anders Danielson Lee, who's in that film as well.
Yeah.
She's got a few.
Yeah,
a few cool stuff.
Yeah, and rightly so because she I won't say carries this film because it's not like it would be worthless without her, but she adds.
Yeah,
she
absolutely.
Adds so
she, in my opinion, she should have won Best Actress last year.
Yeah, I don't doubt. Yeah, I don't doubt that. Yeah, just a great film. Surprisingly funny.
Really funny. Yeah.
Very witty. Very heartfelt. Yeah, spectacular.
Yeah, no, great entry. Yeah, it's very. Yeah, heartbreak. I rewatched it. We did a best at the cinema. We did a best of 2022 sort of releases. And that was shown as a re-release, and I rewatched it in the cinema. It just hits just as well this time. Just a fucking incredible film.
Yeah.
And my last film is a bit of a wild card one. There's a few others like I said in my honourable mentions, sort of like Bones and All, stuff like that. Elvis, that probably more traditional to go in my top 10, but there was a film that I had one honourable. No, actually, I'll wait for that for a second. But the last film I've gone for is Ty West's X, which you mentioned briefly.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just so fun, just like a properly enjoyable cinema experience. Like, it nails that Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe, really brings that 70s grime. It's got it's like there's bits of it that are scary, bits that are sexy, bits that are funny, bits that are quite like sad. And the cast, Mia Goth pulling double duty, Jenna Ortega is sort of like the rising star of the year. Brittany Snow.
What a great year she's had.
Unbelievable, yeah. Like, because like Scream, X, Studio 666, The
Yeah,
Fallout, which she's incredible in the Fallout, and then obviously Wednesday's like the big viral hit of the year. Yeah,
yeah,
she's a
yeah.
star. But yeah, X was great, and I didn't care for Pearl as much, but I loved Mia Goth's performance in it still. Um, and I'm looking forward to the third film in the trilogy coming out this year, Maxine.
Maxine. Yeah.
Max XXX. Yeah, Max XXX Bean.
Vin Diesel shows up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But it's
Um,
talk about family.
uh, yeah, I think that it is like it is a piss weak excuse not to put it in the top 10, but I think the reason why I'm reluctant to put X in the top 10 was because I haven't seen Pearl yet.
Yeah,
Obviously, I haven't seen Maxine yet, and I think because it's a trilogy, thematic trilogy, not so much a stylistic one, but
yeah,
I think that's because if I see Pearl and Maxine and they both falter retroactively, my opinion of X will sort of denigrate, so to speak. So,
yeah,
but that's I know that's like a really poor excuse, but
yeah.
I think
It's
that's
you're
really
right.
the only reason why it's not in the top 10. But other than that, yeah, I did really love X. Thought it was like you say, it just nailed that sort of rustic, grimy grindhouse slasher aesthetic. So yeah, so those were our top 10. On to most pleasant surprise. Now, I actually struggled with this, partly because I've already mentioned them in Top Gun Maverick and Elvis. So,
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
That is the issue, isn't it?
yeah, the only other one is probably like I just went for something stupid, so I went with like the Orphan prequel.
Nice,
Well,
nice.
because it's kind of similar to Top Gun situation, really. I was just like, why the fuck are you doing this? And obviously the fact that it's, a 12-year-old girl played by
Yeah,
25-year-old,
yeah,
which was ridiculous. But then like there's a twist like halfway through that film where the film just like, ah, fuck it, and it just relishes it in its own madness. And from that
yeah.
point on, I had the time of my life watching that film because I watched it
Nice.
before I went on holiday. It was like the last film I saw before I went away for a few weeks, and I just thought, man, yeah, it did. Yeah, so that was the most pleasant surprise because I went in thinking this is going to be like one of the worst of the year. It's going to be awful, trite, fatuous, and I left it thinking, man, I really enjoyed that. So yeah,
I've gone similarly sort of silly with mine because yeah, some of the most pleasant surprises were like X, Bodies, 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 Elvis,
yeah,
Top Gun,
yeah,
but I've sort of mentioned those. So the one I'm going to go for was the first. I think it was the first. It was February. It was the first time in 2022 that I'd been in a completely sold out cinema. Probably the first time I've been in a completely sold out cinema since COVID, actually, with no social distancing. And everyone in there was having the time of their lives. It was for the greatest film ever made, the return of America's only true movie star, Johnny Knoxville in Jackass Forever. It's just obviously it's nonsense, but seeing those guys get kicked in the balls, there's just nothing like it. Um, and some of the stunts, and it was just yeah, everyone was literally loving it. So yeah, that's my pleasant surprise of the year.
biggest disappointment. There's quite a few actually.
Yeah,
First one that sprung to mind was Men by Alex
yeah,
Garland.
dog shit.
Um, yeah, after thought the film was bullshit, really. Because I really like Alex Garland. I like him. It's one of the things where I like him more as a writer than I do as a director.
Yeah, I
But
think he's great. I've loved his work. Yeah, but yeah, I really didn't care for men.
other ones, Don't Worry, Darling. Um,
Yeah, I didn't think it was that bad.
well,
It
no,
wasn't what like
no, that's the thing. Like, it wasn't as bad as some people made it out. Like, it wasn't a disaster. But
yeah,
because I really like Booksmart, and I was hoping that somehow the film would sort of escape its controversies, but
yeah,
it
yeah,
really didn't. It just completely overshadowed the film. And the thing is, when I came out of watching the film, I just thought, wow, much ado about nothing. Like all that fuss for this. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah,
Like just the most generic. Because I don't really like to rag on films for like being unoriginal because there's nothing original under the sun,
Yeah,
and films are no different. But there's so much stuff in this film that is just taken from other better films, and basically any film where it's like the suburb with something sinister lurking underneath. And I just thought, man, but it did look nice. I will give it that. It production design wise, it was very good.
yeah.
And to her credit, Olivia Wilde did show that she can jump from doing like indie mumblecore type films to, excuse me, to mainstream studio back projects. So
There's a lot of films I could include just for being bad, but most of them I didn't have that high expectations for anyway. So if we're doing specific big disappointment, um, the one that jumps out is Blonde. Um, it was my least favorite film of the year. Blonde. It was hateful. It was horrific to sit through, and it's so even more egregious because it looked so beautiful, like cinematography wise. Ana de Armas is incredibly cast, in my opinion. I think if she had a character to play, she would be great in that role, but she just has nothing to do other than be victimized. I think, yeah, it's very cruel, the film, and I found it really hard to watch. But I think Marilyn Monroe is an incredible star, one of such an underrated actress. And I was really hoping she would get the sort of representation she deserved in a biopic, and then we could sort of let her rest and stop making films about her. But it was so bad. And the other two that jump to mind are The Son, which I saw at the LFF, which
oh
is the follow-up to The Father, stars Hugh
yeah.
Jackman, Laura Dern, Vanessa Kirby, Anthony Hopkins, and it is really, really poor. It's really poor.
Is it?
Yeah, really, really hack-handedly done, and just doesn't seem like the master stroke that The Father was. And it's just very confusing how the same person made that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and the other one, while it wasn't a terrible film, I had insanely high expectations for it, and it really didn't live up. Was Empire of Light, the Sam Mendes film,
Yeah,
which I
I'll be
also,
seeing that next week.
yeah, we've got it showing. It's showing in 35 mil for a week before its
Yeah.
general release, so it'd be worth catching. But it tries to balance too much, and Sam Mendes can't handle it all. He should have focused on, he tries to look at the love letter for cinema and film type thing. He sort of tries to explore a lot about mental health with Olivia Colman's character, tries to get into the horrible racism that was going on is always going on, but was really heightened in Britain in the 70s and 80s. And it's sort of, they're all very worthy things to deal with, but it doesn't give any of them enough focus. And in doing so, sort of doesn't give due credit to any of the subjects, which just frustrated me. And I never need to see Colin Firth have a hand job. It's just not something I ever need to see. So that was uncomfortable. But yeah, they're my disappointments.
Crap, who gives him the hand job? Coleman.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Oh well, I'll be seeing that yeah, next week when it comes on release, and then Babylon and Tar and that afterwards. So
Babylon, most excited film.
I guess between you and me, the best film unanimously After Sun.
After Sun, fucking A.
Aye, righto. Well, I hope you all have a lovely day, and we'll see you next year.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, mate.
No worries. My pleasure as always. Have a good time, everyone.